Welcome back. This is Jeff Byers, and we are going to go ahead and texture our dress. I want it textured, so I've given you guys freedom to use any texture you guys like within reason. Make it look like it's a cloth texture of some kind, maybe some kind of a print. I do have some textures you guys can use and crop and mess with, and you can find your own, of course. I'm very happy with the result of our dress. It's nothing fancy. I mean, it can't hold a candle to what Marvelous Designer can do, but I feel like Marvelous Designer has quite a high learning curve, especially if you're trying to do like a suit or a pantsuit or something like that, or pants. So you got to have some skills in patterns. So anyway, this is a great I'm hoping you like the video series, and I'm hoping that you understand that it's not perfect by any means, but it works pretty good. And now we're at this point where we need to go ahead and texture. Let's go ahead and do that. So let's put the object in its own layer, so we can get rid of that, so we can just focus on this. What you want to do is you want to delete any history, and you want to freeze any transformations that you have on the object. Okay, that can cause any problems later. I need to add a UV set to this first, so I'm going to do a planar first. You can do edit, reset, and then click on the x-axis, and this is going to push that UV map onto it, and that's what we want. We want a brand new UV map all set up. And so I'm going to go ahead and close this for now. Don't need it right now. Click off of that, and then click on Object again. And this time, now that we have that set up, now we're going to have to split a UV down the back, and that should lay out just nicely. So it's pretty simple. So I'm going to go into Edge mode. Okay, that's the first thing I'm going to do. Go to the back, kind of get ready here, and go to UV, and then UV cut, and so UV tool. Okay, this allows us to go in here, and I'm just going to select the first one, and I'm going to go all the way down to the bottom, shift select, and double click on the last one here, and that'll run a cut all the way up. That is it. That's all you have to do. So the next thing you do is you hit the Q key. Okay, go back into selection mode. Alright, and now you're ready to lay out the UVs. Very simple. UV, and then we're going to go down to UV editor, make sure that's opened up. Make this a little bit smaller. That's pretty big. There we go. Okay, so I can see what I'm doing, and I can see my dress here. And what I want to do is just the first thing is to open everything, open up the unfold, and then click unfold. Okay, perfect, and then optimize. Alright, so then we're going to go ahead and right click over and go to UV shell, select the UV shell, orient the shell, and it was pushed over too far the other way, so let's move it this way, and then click on orient shell again. It'll kind of get itself, right itself then. And then we want to click on layout UV. Okay, so it's going to lay out within the texture space. Okay, now if you think it's really close, it is. It's super close. I mean, it's just, you know, perfect. It lays it out perfectly. There's nothing outside. And if you're worried about that, you can always go to modify layout. Okay, and you can change the way, you can change this setup here to something like shell padding to, let's put in like 10, and that basically means pixels. So I'm going to do 10 and 10, and everything looks good. And then go ahead and click on layout UVs, and what it'll do is it'll shrink its 10 pixels in there. Okay, now at this point you could go in here, right click over the object, and go to select. Okay, and your UVs are laid out. All you have to do is click on snapshot, fill out this. I've got mine at set up PNG. You can do 2048 by 2048 if you want to. We're not using Udemy tiles, so there'll be 1 and 1. Go ahead and browse and save your texture. But what I'm going to do is, since I'm not going to bring in substance, I already have. I've already got a texture for it, but I also want, I didn't really like it, so you could do that. What I did was I went out and found a material that was seamless. It's very hard to find, but a flower material, and I'm going to share it with you guys, so you'll feel free to use it if you'd like. So that's all I'm going to use. I don't need to send anything out. I don't need to save anything. Your UVs are saved with your scene file. So once you're done, I would highly recommend you do that now. So File, Save Scene As, and you can put something like right next to it, like this one's going to be 6, save 6, and then TX. There we go. So click on Save As. Alright, so the UV map will always be saved with it. Okay. So again, we're going to delete by type history. Okay, we're getting some history there. And I'm going to rename this, and I'm going to pop this out of here. So I don't really like that in this node. So I'm going to open that up. Sometimes it does that. It gives you a group. I'm gonna hold my middle mouse button and drag it over top and get rid of this one. I don't want that. Okay, this poly surface I'm going to rename. Finally, I should rename it dress. Okay. Good. And so what we need to do now is go ahead and apply a texture. So I'm going to go ahead and get that object selection selected, and I'm going to right click over and go to assign the material. Go into Maya, blend. We're just going to use the blend. Okay. And under blend, we're going to go ahead and find my texture. And because I'm only giving you a play blast, I'm just going to use a plain blend, because that, when you play blast it, it looks really good. Now the AI standard surface, if I was going to fully render it with Arnold and do a animation, put it all together as an AI movie, then I would definitely use AI standard surface. Okay. But since I'm only asking for a play blast, this is going to work better. So let's go into this, File, Off, and then we're going to click on whatever pattern I want. And I like this one here. I'm going to click Open. Okay. If you don't see it, just hit the 6 key. Okay, so what happened here, for some reason, and it's unusual, usually when I do delete by type history, it gets rid of all the history. Now notice that all the new modeling that I did, all the new modeling that I extruded, it has this on it. Now at first I thought, well gosh, this is just faces that are wrong, so I'm going to delete that face. No, it's not two faces on top of each other. And then I thought, well, are there double vertices? So I checked that, and I click my, and there's no double vertices. So I'm thinking it's just a glitch. If you don't see this, and you see a nice texture on there, great. The UV map should be working fine. So I'm going to disconnect this a minute. So break connection. So to check that again, I went in there to UV editor to make sure we're okay. So I clicked on a grid, and everything looks perfect. So I was stuck, and so I thought, well, what could I do to fix this? And before, I did remember a student that had an issue a long time ago. It's been a long time, and I thought they fixed this bug. And it was a bug that whenever you extrude an object, sometimes it comes back, it sticks to the mesh, and doesn't matter what UV set you put on it, you can put a new UV set on there, and it still has that same issue. So what I found out, the solution is this. So I'm going to go in here and place this in its own layer. Okay, so I can turn it off and on. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select it. Okay, hit the Q key. I'm going to go into File, and I'm going to Export Selection. Okay, I'm going to export it as an OBJ. What I'm going to do is I'm going to clean this object up to a point where it cannot find those UVs anymore. I'm going to strip all the UVs off. Okay, so I'm going to strip it off, and I'm going to call this something I haven't used before. And that's another thing. A lot of students have they confuse themselves by naming it and saving it over top of another object. So this time I'm just going to go in here and I'm going to put in something like dress UV mess. Alright, so that is pretty self-explanatory, so I'm going to go ahead and click Export Selection. Alright, so I'm going to click off that, turn that off, go to File, Import, and I'm going to import that new dress dress UV mess, click on import. Okay, and here it is. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and rename that. We'll call this dress fixed. Alright, and if you don't have this problem, you can just fast forward this so you don't have to watch this. But if you ever run into this problem, this will fix it. So the only problem with this is that the UVs are going to be messed up. So select it, go to UV, go to UV texture. Okay. Oh, it did mess them up. I did have a point where it did mess them up. It kept the UVs, so that could be a problem. So anyway, let's see if it fixed it. Okay. So now that I went and brought it into just saved it as an OBJ, let's see what happens. So I'm going to add another shader, assign new material. Let's go to Maya, Blend, and let's go ahead and add that texture again. See if we can find it real quick. And the flower texture. Okay. And there we go. Perfect. It's hard for me to explain. I just think that it gets stuck. There's a glitch when you're extruding, and for some reason it got stuck on it, and you may not see that issue. And if you don't, fantastic. And if you do, now you know how to fix it. So again, I'm sorry for wasting your time. If you guys didn't run into that issue and if it was texture right away, you could have stopped the video. Okay, so now we're going to move on to the next phase with this, is that we want to animate the character, but the only way to do that is to rig it. And who wants to spend 8 to 16 hours rigging a character? So we're just going to use the quick auto rig in Maya. Normally I would never do this, but most of you have taken my rigging class, so you know how to rig from scratch. So alright, so let's do that, and let's go in here to the duplicate, and now we don't need the dress anymore, so let's go ahead and put that in a layer by itself so we can just focus on the rig now. So I'm going to click on that, and that's going to be our fixed piece. So I'm going to call that dress fixed, like that. Save it. Okay. It already exists. Well, alright, so FIN then. Finished. There we go. And now we're ready to rig. So take that. Make sure you delete everything. Delete by type history. And freeze transformations. We're good there. So click on it and hold down the space bar and go to skeleton. If you don't see that, you have to go to hotbox controls and show all. Okay. You can go to skeleton. Go down to quick rig. Right. Don't click on auto rig because the knees are not set as a preferred angle, so they're kind of almost bowed backwards. Normally that's pretty natural. I mean, that our legs kind of do that sometimes. So we want to do step by step. Okay, and you need to make sure I click on that and click on plus to add it. Okay, and then I want to click on geometry. I want to click on plus to add the woman shape. And then I'm going to go click under the guides, do this really quickly, create an update. Okay, and it creates these little balls that show where the joint should be. And for some reason, the scale of this thing has caused these little balls to be really small. So what I can do is go into preferences and go to kinematics and turn that up so you can see them. Okay. And then now we can just move them in place. So with the knees, you can see that the leg, if it was rigged, it would go backwards because the set preferred angle needs to be set forward. So I'm going to go to the side view of the character and probably move them up a little bit and then forward. Okay, so it's the back of the knee here, so let's kind of get that set up. And we need to have a preferred angle. If we don't, then it's going to cause problems. If we move it back here, it'll go wrong. It'll inverse that. So let's bring that up right about there, and I can see that it's not level, so we're good. We're good to go there. So the knees are good. Okay. Is the pelvis good? Check that out. Is the neck good? Is the base of the neck good? Yeah, I think so. I'm not sure about that. You really can't see where the elbow is, but it's not down that far. Pretty sure of that. So I'm going to just move that up like that and do the same thing with this guy right here. There we go. And then from the top view, again, the elbows can be the same kind of problem. So you want to select both of those and move them back. These are the only issues that I've had with auto rig, is that sometimes it doesn't do a fantastic job, but it does pretty good for what it is. Okay, it will save you a lot of time. Alright, so now we're ready to, if you see anything else, go ahead and fix it. Alright, so next thing would be to update your guides. Okay, so create update. There you go. Are you sure you want to delete the following object? Guides. No, I want to generate skeleton. That I was on the wrong one. Let's click on create an update under skeleton. I'm sorry. So click on that. Here we go, and that should, yeah. So now it gives you a skeleton, which is great. I don't, it's teeny small. So I'll show you how to control it. There's, you can't really scale any of this stuff. Okay, well, I suppose nope. Can we? No. So you can't really scale any of this stuff. I suppose I could go in here. No, it's locked. I can't scale. So we're kind of stuck with that. Anyway, so now we're going to do the skinning. So let's go ahead and click on skinning and update, create an update. So this might take a little while. It's a pretty low mesh character, so it shouldn't take long at all. So what you can do now is open this up, this right here, and this is how you can move it around. So now you can kind of move it down, and it looks pretty good. Very happy with that. And side to side, cool. And hips, I think it's a pretty cool rig, actually. Move it down a little bit. Yep, very cool. And let's see here with the controller, if I click on that controller again, we're done, so click off that and you can get rid of that. No, don't you dare. Okay, I was trying to hit Control A. There we go. Alright, so when I click on this, you can see we've got all of this all set up. Okay, so now we can move it down. Now we have, let's see, so I've got my chest, my right foot, okay, my right, let's get right knee effector, okay. Okay, so we can move, that's the hip. And so I'm looking for right ankle effector, and that moves the leg up, and we can rotate the foot. Okay, alright, cool. So now we have something to animate. It's not perfect, by any means. I mean, it's not going to be as nice, and it probably needs some paint weights, but it's good enough for what we have, which was nothing before. So now we're ready to rock and roll. So we can click on this, the actual reference. I think that moves everything. Nope, guess not. That control reference, there it does. There we go. Okay, so we're good to go. Alright, so that wasn't too bad. So now what we're going to do, we're going to come back. Let's go ahead and open up the dress finished. And so now we're ready to create the simulation for the character, now that it's all rigged and everything's textured. Let me add a skin texture to that so it's a little more realistic. Okay, we're going to do, instead of a really reflective, shiny texture, I'm going to use a blend. Now you can't delete by history anymore, by the way, on the character, otherwise you'll kill the control rig, so don't do that. So now I'm just going to click on a red tone here and just kind of get it as close to skin as I can. Okay, that's good enough. You can have any skin tone you like, so you just go ahead and go for it. So right now there's our character. So I want you to save your work, and this is going to be texture, and then in here I'm going to put rig _rig and save it. Alright, so when we come back, we're going to do our simulation, and you guys can create your own little animation, whatever animation you like to create with it, and have some fun, and then you'll go ahead and upload this and share with other students what you've done and how it turned out. Alright, I'll see you in the next video.